right, today we're going to dive into a project that's, well, it's not trying to be the next big AI. Instead, it's aiming for something that might be even more fundamental, the actual data layer that all these crypto AIs could one day need. We're talking about SkyAI. So, what's the deal here? Is this the future of crypto infrastructure, or is it just another flash in the pan? Let's dig in and find out.
Okay, so to really get what SkyEye is all about, we've actually got to start by questioning something that a lot of us just take for granted when we talk about AI.
Yeah, I know, that sounds a little crazy, right? We're smack in the middle of this massive AI explosion. How could AI not be the most important part of the equation? Well, it's because AI, for all its power, is completely 100% dependent on something else. Something that's even more basic. And not something is data. Simple as that. Without a steady, huge stream of clean, organized data, an AI is basically useless. It can't learn anything new, it can't get better, and it for sure can't evolve. Think of it like this. Data is the food, it's the fuel, it's literally the lifeblood for any AI out there.
And this is where we hit a really interesting problem, especially in crypto. I mean, the crypto world generates an unbelievable amount of data every single second. But here's the catch. For an AI, most of that data is just noise. It's a total mess. It's disorganized. It's scattered all over the place. And in its raw state, it's pretty much unusable.
This is probably the best way to think about it. Imagine all that raw blockchain data is like crude oil, right? It's got incredible potential value, but you can't just pump it straight from the ground into your car's gas tank. It won't work. It's raw, it's chaotic, it's unusable as is. You have to refine it first to turn it into powerful, usable fuel. And that refining process, that's exactly the gap SkyAI is trying to fill. So, if crypto data is the crude oil, then SkyAI wants to be the data refinery. Let's take a look at how they plan on doing that. Okay, first things first, and this is super important to get. SkyEye is not an app you're going to find on the App Store. It's not a trading bot. It's not another ChatGPT clone. It's designed to be infrastructure. The best analogy is the plumbing in your house. You never really see it, you don't think about it, but it's that invisible layer that makes your shower and your sink and everything else actually work.
So here's the process in a nutshell. You've got blockchains, right? And they're just constantly churning out this raw, messy data. The Sky AI layer sits right in the middle, acting like that refinery we talked about. It grabs all that data, cleans it up, puts it into a neat structure, and connects the dots. The end result is data that an AI model can finally understand and actually use.
Now, the tech that makes all this possible is something they call the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Just think of it as the set of rules or the standard they built that lets AI models do more than just read blockchain data. It helps them understand the context behind the data in real time. So the point isn't to make the AI smarter, it's to give it better food to eat. Garbage in, garbage out. This is about making sure only the good stuff goes in. All right, so the tech side sounds pretty cool. But how does this actually work as a business? I mean, how do you make money from building an invisible layer? This is where things get really interesting, especially with the token. The whole idea is to tie the value of the SKAI token to real-world use, not just market hype. So value only gets created when developers and their apps actually pay to use this refined data. And this is the bottom line. If nobody wants or needs the data, then the token, well, it doesn't have any real sustainable value. It's that simple. And this quote right here, it just nails their whole long-term strategy. Look, SkyEye isn't trying to be the next flashy app that everyone's talking about. The goal is to become that essential, invisible plumbing that tons of other applications get built on top of. And if you look back at the history of tech, things like operating systems or APIs, it's often these boring, foundational layers that end up being the most valuable in the long run. Okay, so enough with the theory. What does this actually look like in the real world? What kind of cool stuff could you build if you had access to this super refined data? Let's get into some examples. A good way to wrap your head around this is to compare it to some projects you probably already know. So you've got Chainlink, right? Their job is to bring data from the outside world onto the blockchain. Then you've got the Graph, which is amazing at sorting and organizing all the data that's already on the chain. SkyAI is aiming to be the next logical piece of the puzzle, to take that nicely organized on-chain data and make it something an AI can actually eat and understand. And if they pull this off, here's the kind of stuff it could unlock. Just imagine AIs that can automatically run complex DeFi strategies for you based on what's happening right this second. Or think about tools that could analyze wallet activity to spot the next big trend before it happens. or even systems that can understand market sentiment in real time. We're talking about AIs that can operate natively on the blockchain.
Okay, look, the vision is awesome. It sounds great, but let's be real, pulling this off is going to be incredibly hard. So we absolutely have to look at this with a healthy dose of skepticism and talk about the huge challenges and risks they're facing. And believe me, the hurdles are massive. First off, and this is the big one, they need to convince actual developers to use their stuff. Adoption is everything. Then you've got the fact that this market is super competitive. Everyone and their brother has an AI crypto project right now. The tech itself is also ridiculously complex to build, and they have to somehow stand out in all the noise from the current AI hype train.
And this really gets to the absolute core of the risk here. The biggest danger for a project like SkyAI isn't that the tech won't work. The biggest danger is that they build this perfect, beautiful, amazing data refinery, and nobody shows up to use it. If developers just find other ways to get their data, or if it turns out nobody really needs this kind of on-chain AI, then the whole thing just falls apart.
So if you're trying to figure out if this project is succeeding, forget the token price, forget the Twitter hype. There is only one metric that matters, and it's this: how many real working applications are actually using their data layer? That's it. That is the only true test.
So, keeping all of that in mind, what does the future look like for a project like this? Let's run through a few possible scenarios. Okay, scenario 1, the best case. The dream comes true. SkyAI becomes the absolute standard, the no-brainer choice for any developer building AI in crypto. It basically becomes a core pillar of Web3, just as fundamental as something like Chainlink or the graph. Then there's the middle-of-the-road scenario. It doesn't take over the world, but it finds its own little corner. Maybe it becomes super popular for one specific type of DeFi analysis or for just one blockchain ecosystem. It's successful and useful, but in a much more limited way. And then, of course, you have the worst-case scenario. The developers never really come, that big demand for refined data just doesn't show up, and the project kind of just fizzles out. It becomes another footnote, just one more interesting idea that got lost in the AI hype. Which really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. And it goes way beyond just this one project. As AI gets woven into every part of our digital lives, where's the real power going to be? Is it with the people who build the cool AI models? Or is the ultimate power with the people who control the clean, refined data that those models need to even exist? Something to think about.